This is Igor, and I'm down to dunk. This is Igor, and I'm down to do it.
I'm Josh Giddey, and I'm down to dunk.
Hey, this is Kenny Hustle, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Darius Baisley, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Poku, and I'm down to dunk.
I love cereal. Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cracklin' Oats Bran.
Oh, I can have these. I'm going to share with my team, but I'm a hog most.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schleck. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, for our Monday show. We're recording on a Sunday, though. It's my good friend, Michele Barra. Michele, what's up?
Hey, I'm excited. The dunk contest happened. It was fantastic. Wow.
You really liked that. You like mediocre dunking.
No.
It was so bad. It was the worst dunk contest in a long time. We've had some good ones, actually. And you know what? Who could have seen it coming? You looked at the guys that were in it.
Like Cole Anthony.
What were they doing? There's just got to be guys that are better at dunking than those guys. Obi was fine. Obi Toppin was good. Like he's like a standard dunk contest participant. That was fine.
Yeah, but it's the one that you put in the dunk contest just because you have to put someone from New York in, like those stuff. Like cannot be your star. I mean,
no, that should not have been the star of the game. He's a solid contributor. I mean, whenever Juan Toscano Anderson makes the finals and he just literally could not do the dunks he wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, you see the disappointment in his face as he gets hung up with only getting like half of his forearm into the rim. And you're like, oh no.
Yeah, it was terrible.
No, this is really bad. Like Obi won by default, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, Zach Vobernick says that he expected more from Jalen Green. Didn't we all expect more?
Yeah.
You know what? That's been the theme of Jalen Green's career so far. Is I expect more. That's where everybody is right now with Jalen Green.
Yeah, no, it was a sad moment.
It was terrible. We're going to answer as many questions as possible here, and this is actually a pretty good place to start. It's from our guy at J. Ralph Smith. Jay wants to know, after the skills competition, are you ashamed that you rejected the Magic Bird comp for Josh Giddey?
Of course. He's eating everything.
Right?
So.
Yeah, that was fun seeing it, and it was the whole thing was kind of cool just to see Josh flourish throughout the skills competition. But the commentary was really funny because they were just like dogging, even on Josh, who was the first person to go in the shooting competition. They were kind of ragging on him the whole time he was doing it. And then it turns out he had like the second best score amongst everybody. I mean, or maybe third best, but
third. Anyway. It was first Garland and Mobley, then him.
Yes, Garland, Mobley, and then Giddey. And they were acting like he was just trash. Like, well, you know what? He's really got to develop his shooting. And then guys go and they're getting like 8 points or whatever, 6 points. It's like, oh my goodness! Like he actually did quite well, and just kind of his standstill shooting stuff was a little bit surprising.
Yeah, it was okay. It was wide open. I mean, it's hey, those are professionals. I expected him to.
But everybody else that was a professional that was wide open, like Scotty Barnes, looked like the Scotty Barnes that we were all promised at the draft.
Yeah. The thing that I love the most about Giddey is the video that OKC Thunder media put on Twitter. Said we didn't get the result that we wanted. Really? Like there was a result to be wanted almost a weekend.
Holding the trophy again. Hey, they almost did it. They were just a few seconds away from doing it.
And then please explain why one competition is worth 200 points if it serves nothing. Like you win that one, and you still have the most points, and you still have to go to the finals. Like it's completely nonsense to me. The targets of the passes were so wide. I mean,
they were huge.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
like, there were guys that were throwing the ball like this, baseball style.
It was designed for me, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not like you can make it a little bit tougher without making it impossible.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
if you just make them half as big, really, then you can actually showcase your passing skills. All that's doing is just showcasing your ability to throw a ball a certain distance.
Yeah, exactly. And why is this racism between left and right? Like the left, the shot on the right hand side was what 1 point, and the same shot on the left side it was 2 points.
Yeah,
what is this thing? Like, why?
It was it was weird. I thought it was somewhat engaging, but it was still the whole thing. There were a lot of, it left you with a lot of questions, and even all the guys afterwards were like, yeah, they didn't really explain the rules very well to us before we started.
Yeah. I mean, like, no one took the 1 point shot. Like, no one.
Yeah, of course.
I love that Garland started to take 5 points. Like, yes, that is what you're supposed to do. 3 and 5. Yes, exactly.
Or the corner shot is worth 4.
Yeah. Why? It's really nonsensical. I mean, I'm okay like doing the 2 pointers, 1 point, corner 2 points, and top of the key 3 points. That's
okay.
More
yeah, that's a little bit
more.
But anyways, who cares? It's just fun. It's just all for fun.
Sure.
It was probably the best event for Saturday night, though, was the skills competition, which is, it says a lot about how we were doing on our All-Star Saturday night.
Yeah, mainly because you don't want Cat to really win the 3-point contest. Come on. I mean, you need someone like more fun. I would have preferred Kennard. Is it weird?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm completely and utterly exhausted by Luke Kennard this season. I'm over it.
He's okay. He's a player.
He's good. That's why I'm over it. Like I just cannot stand watching that Clippers team anymore. Like I'm just really honestly so sick of watching that Clippers team, and he's always just like right in the mix doing stuff. Like that trade ended up being pretty good for them.
Yeah.
They
are well coached.
Kind of a toss up right now, Yeah, they are.
I mean, it's all Ty Lue's fault.
It is. Yeah. If they could just have a coach that was just 20% less competent, we're probably doing a little better.
Yeah.
So, Friday night though was pretty good. Did you watch those games?
Yeah, very little.
Yeah, that was really fun. Whoever had that idea, like big time props to you, because usually the rookie sophomore game is usually nothing to write home about, but the tournament style, playing to 50 and then having the last game to 25, that was really fun, especially the way they ended up, where it's basically game point for both of them. I wish they didn't end on free throws. A couple of them ended on free throws, but what can you do?
Yeah. I missed those. My Saturday was a little bit packed, so and I watched basically the entire Saturday night this morning on my cell phone while my kids were like they were handling the TV. So it's like life in the weekend is hard.
It's dad life now, and I'm well aware of what that life looks like. I do that on the reg. All right, let's go to our next question. At Benelphin King wants to know, why did it take so long for Josh Giddey to become LeBron's favorite player?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is on LeBron, not on us. Like he's spectacular. And I mean, again, the best point of that interview was not Josh Giddey and was not Sam Presti. It was the fact that somehow one of the best players drafted by Presti was not in the list.
Yeah,
that was very weird.
Top 3 of the list. You just don't put him in there, and you name Reggie and Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff Green is a weird one.
Because at least he played with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Did he in Cleveland? I think he did.
Yeah,
I think he did.
For a minute. He did for a minute, but still, So it's Jeff Green. Like he's drafted 5th, and was maybe like, I don't know, the 10th best player in that draft. I don't know, like that.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, that was.
But I mean, LeBron has like a very good memory, so I can't think that he just forgot.
LeBron does everything intentionally. Every single thing. Like I cannot sit here and think like, oh, he just forgot. Like no. I think LeBron is very intentional with everything he says, especially And people are like, why is LeBron saying, F the picks one day and then on the next day praising Sam Presti, who is like, his heart is made of draft picks. Like, why is he doing that? Well, I can tell you why. It's because he believes that his general manager is doing a really terrible job. And so he praised anybody who's doing a good job at anything.
Yeah, and it's not that LeBron is saying, hey, the strategy is amazing. He said a very different thing. He said that Presti is one of the best evaluators of draft prospects, which is like the truth. And so, I mean, but let's go back to Giddey. I mean, Giddey is awesome. He's just, I mean, I know that we should answer questions and not like diverge into like discussions about Giddey, but I'm excited to see how this coaching staff will maximize Giddey and Shai together, because this is the focal point of next season, I think, because you can clearly see that when Shai has space around him, he's deadly. When Giddey has space around him, he's deadly. But the two of them together, they still have to find a way to play together.
Yeah,
and it's going to be. Those are smart guys, and so I'm sure that they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see if Shai does come back, and looks good after the All-Star break. It's really just going to be all about those two and how to orchestrate an offense that works around those two. And the more we've seen Josh on ball in recent weeks, I think it's just abundantly clear that they need to find more ways to space Shai off ball.
Yeah.
And see if they can make that work somehow. And, Giddey shot the ball well from the corners. And so if you can get Giddey space into the corners, like, that's fine. But you can't take the ball out of one of like the 5 most special passers in the NBA.
Yeah. Wow.
Is that too hyperbolic to say?
No, maybe not this year, but in 2 or 3 years, maybe it's the case.
Yeah. I mean, he's up there. I mean, was he top 10 best passers in the NBA?
Yeah. 10, 15, yes.
I mean, you want to take the ball out of that guy's hands? Like,
no,
the Suns aren't taking the ball out of Steve Nash's hands. The Nuggets are taking the ball out of Jokic's hands. I'm being serious, and I'm.
No, I know.
Come to that conclusion over the past few weeks that Giddey is not the best player on the Thunder. Like, that's not where we're at here. But he will be the best facilitator on the team. And
he probably is already. That part is true already. I think he's a better facilitator than Shai already.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting balance between the two, and there's some questions upcoming that will take us.
Can
other stuff.
Can I hijack the pod a little bit more?
Hijack
just for 2 seconds. I listened to. I was listening this afternoon while I was running the low post with Scalabrini.
Yeah.
And he said something very important, that this year Tatum made the leap because he's giving the ball up way more than before, and the ball is finding him in better spots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is very relevant for Shai. Like, I'm sure that if Shai realizes, hey, I can attack when the defense is broken, and I can leave Giddey with the ball and get it back, because Giddey will find him. Giddey's not taking an insane amount of shots right now. He's not. Like, he's taking 12, 13. Like, this is natural. It's not that he's averaging 25 shots per game. He's not eating shots.
Yep.
So I'm sure that if this is a talking point for the future, we will see Shai giving the ball up way more. Yeah. And then we will see the ball coming to Shai for a wide open corner tree, for a wide open wing tree, for a one-on-one matchup that he can destroy. It's not important if Shai kills the best defender on the other team. It may happen in the playoffs, but if he has like a good matchup, this is what you should find for him. Like, he can be way more efficient and put up 20 shots, like better shots, and average 28 points a game, even if he doesn't have the ball in his hands at all times. I think that this is very doable for Shai.
Yeah. Right now, Josh Giddey via BetMGM has the second best odds at winning Rookie of the Year.
Yeah,
which is kind of interesting. Evan Mobley's minus 350, which is like he's going to win it. But then Josh is like plus 850, Cade Cunningham plus 900, Scotty Barnes 900, and then it just goes through the ceiling, through the roof. Franz Wagner plus 2,000. So it really is Evan Mobley's to win, and really the only thing that would jeopardize it is like he had a season-ending injury, and then Josh Giddey just takes off, then he could possibly win it. But having the second best odds, I mean, if I would have told you at the beginning of the season that, hey, Michaela, we're going to get to the All-Star break, and Josh Giddey is going to have the second best odds to win Rookie of the Year, I think you'd be a little surprised. I would have been very surprised.
Oh yeah.
To hear that.
If you say he's still top 5 in odds, I would say, hey, yeah, that I see that. It's not that I think that is necessarily like a sure thing, but I probably had in my mind, hey, he can be slightly better than the position where Sam pick him. Yeah. But to play like the second best player in this rookie class for stretches, that was something that I did not anticipate.
Yeah, me either. Quite impressive. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next question. At Chatham33, is there anything to read into LeBron's comments about Presti? Is it angling to try to get Presti to LA, or is it just honest admiration? I don't think a job in LA would lure Presti away from the perfect rebuild, but it's odd that he said it unprompted.
I don't think that he wants Presti to be his GM, to be honest with you.
I don't know that LeBron, I mean, honestly, LeBron builds his own teams.
Exactly. It's about control.
Yeah.
And they both want it. Yeah. To a very high degree. So
it's not a match made in heaven, let's just say that.
Hey, if in the future LeBron wants to be a great coach, I'm sure that he will see Presti as a great GM to work with. That is for sure.
True. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And Presti and LeBron and Westbrook and everybody for that, like these stars for that matter, all kind of cut from the same cloth mentally. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't read into it a whole lot. And I'm not under any like false impression that Sam Presti will never leave the Thunder. I think there's a chance that he might, so we can't be blind to that. But for now, I think, he's been given like a really interesting chance to, rebuild this team from the ground up with $1 billion picks. And I my guess is that he'd like to see it through at least to some degree. So, but we shall see. At Lester Freeman says, agree or disagree? Player comps can be a fun thought exercise, but are mostly pointless for evaluating prospects.
Yeah, I agree. They only help to just give a frame of reference. Just it's not something that necessarily tells the story of how a player will develop. But in order to give you like an immediate idea of how the player looked like on the court whenever you are scouting him, I think that comps may be useful. Again, not to pull the trajectory of the career, but to give you like a visible idea of what the impact can be on the court for a guy like that. So I think that for like talent evaluation are useless and probably somewhat misleading. But to give you an idea of how that player plays, yes, that can be something that you can use comps for. That's why it's so hard with Giddey, because there's not many players. I think that like Giddey plays a lot like Jokic in some sense, like the fact that he just put the ball back to the basket and just surveys the court and just nails guys with passes. Is Giddey Jokic? Of course not. But like you can take comps to say, hey, look at how Jokic plays back to the basket and see the floor. Giddey plays a little bit like that.
Yeah, I don't think that comp is a crazy one. You kind of need a weirdo, essentially to comp Giddey with, and Jokic is certainly that. Next one. I agree though. The more I look at draft prospects, the more I just don't really like doing comps. It's more of just like conceptualize it for people. Like, this is what this guy does, but I prefer to just look at the skill set they have and say,
Yeah,
this is what they are, what they do. Because I mean, people have sent me all kinds of comps for Josh, and it's just like, that's not really it. It's close, but there's like these 3 things this guy did that's just not really comparable.
That's why you can take parts of the game. Like, you can say, hey, when he's in this situation, he's kind of like that. When he plays in that situation, he's kind of like that. So you can take pieces out of other players and glue them together and give an idea of how that player looked like on the court. But like, to find like a single player and say, hey, this is that guy.
Yeah,
it's not all that useful.
Yeah, agreed. Next question from F405 fan. Have you looked at any rim protecting centers in this draft? Walker Kessler is averaging 6.5 blocks per 36 this year, highest since Anthony Davis at 5.2 in 2012. He's averaging 1.5 steals. There are 3 to 4 centers in the 15 to 30 range. You could even pair Chet and Jabari or Paolo with a guy like Walker Kessler. Have you watched any of him?
No, as you know, I have yet to start. But in general, the thought of a shot blocker is like, the idea to get a shot blocker is nice. But I don't think that you want to sacrifice any bit of space in order to get a shot blocker. There are other ways to build a good defense, a good enough defense. Mm-hmm. And this year is basically the best example for that. OKC has 0 rim protector, and yet they have a good enough defense. Now, is this sustainable? I don't know. But I see guys like Baisley, like JRE, being better next year. So why are you taking a guy for a skill that is useful? Yes, but with how OKC is constructed, if you take away space, that skill is probably something that you cannot use in a playoff setting in the last 5 minutes of the game. So are you really like using that as a draft pick? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's interesting. He's 7'1". He's huge. He's 245. He's a big dog. I think that he's a center only. And so I also wonder about just flexibility and versatility with your lineups, if that's the kind of guy that you want, because he's not going to space the floor. He's going to score on the basket some, pretty good rebounder. Like, those are the kind of players that, and the last time the Thunder had a guy like that, man, I don't know. I'm curious to see if that's somebody that they would bite on. He's probably going in the 20s. Yeah, probably in the mid 20s. Mark Williams is another guy out of Duke who is they're about the same age, about the same size, honestly. Maybe Mark is a little bit more athletic and he's going to go a little bit higher. And so I'd rather opt for somebody that's a little bit more athletic than Walker Kessler is, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
him last year
around him to be able to say like, oh, I would definitely take so and so over him. But
again, it doesn't necessarily have to be like blocking and like in shooting, but you need to have something else to like. You need to be an elite short roll player. In order to make sense with a team like OKC. Again, so maybe Jalen Duran is developing that to a certain degree, and you are there. It's like everything goes badly on draft night. AJ Griffin goes ahead, and you are pick number 7. You say, hey, he can be good.
Yeah,
and that I can get by.
And Jalen Duran, compared to these other guys, he's at least 2 years younger.
Yeah, exactly.
And is giant, 6'11", 250. Like, he's a massive I'd rather try it with that guy who's crazy athletic and he's certainly behind Kessler as far as like skill level and technique and everything, but the potential of a Jalen Duren is pretty crazy of what he could be, especially with guys that can pass and score, and Giddey and SGA. It's not the worst consolation prize in the world. So
yeah.
All right. Next question. We'll be doing more draft stuff as things progress here, definitely. At Tyler K. Field, how would Bronny and his dad fit on the New Age Thunder? What kind of prospect is Bronny? First overall, lotto, late first? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know that much about him. I don't know how good he's going to be. I know he's in the 2024 class, I believe.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I got nothing. But it'd be kind of cool to see LeBron wearing a Thunder uniform. That's about all I got. No matter what the age is, it would be kind of an incredible thing to cover. So
yeah, no, it would be amazing.
Yeah, not quite sure. At the Fluky, if the Thunder pick lands outside the top 5, should Presti seriously consider trading Shai to realign the rebuild?
That's an interesting question. There was also a question that I read somewhere, I don't remember, about would you trade if you say that you get number 4, you stay at number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Would you trade Shai and draft Holmgren and Ivy and move forward with them instead of? It's such a risky proposition. You don't know. You never know. You're there at 6'7". There is AJ Griffin, who seems like a guy who was supposed to be great, and he's being good to great. Maybe he's the guy that takes 15 shots for your team. 7 of those are threes. He plays good enough defense. He's sturdy enough on the defensive side. We don't need. Maybe your team improves organically, and it's enough. I mean, like trading Shai means probably being worse next season.
Worse next season and the season after.
Yeah, and the season after to some degree. I mean, this team was not terrible without Shai either. Like, yes, True. They play bad teams, but this team is so competent defensively that it's very hard to be a terrible team when you have a top 15 defense. That is just hard. In order to be terrible, you need to be atrocious defensively, and OKC will not be.
You'd have to be so sure about Chet. Like you'd have to. If you thought that Chet is like, hey, he's like Evan Mobley with like a better 3-point shot, then the answer is yes, you do it.
Yeah.
If the answer is we don't really know what he is, then the answer is absolutely not. Like absolutely not.
But that is the draft. I mean, you're giving up a lot to give away Shai for the number 1 pick.
If Orlando got it, like that would be, I'm sure Orlando would be the one making the call, to Oklahoma City saying, hey, we don't need another long rangy big. What we need is somebody that's actually good at creating and can be, a number 1 guy. Like the Orlando Magic are in this kind of weird spot, and this is kind of the worst draft for them because they're in this spot. It's like we need somebody that can create that's not named Cole Anthony. Help us, because I don't know that Jalen Suggs is ever going to be that guy either. But and we talked about this a ton at draft time. You pair Shai and Jalen Suggs together, and if you can get Isaac healthy and Wagner, like then you're actually kind of cooking with something, Like that's kind of.
Is it? Yeah, but suppose that. I mean, would you say yes to something like you give away the full Canadian squad, but you get number 1 in Wagner? I don't think I would do the swap directly.
Well,
you can give some extra assets. You can give some extras to endure the pill.
I would ask for like Wendell Carter.
Why?
Because I mean, I don't know. I just would. I would ask for somebody else
instead of Franz Wagner.
Not instead. Not instead. I mean, if you're giving up Dort and Shai, then yeah, you have to ask for Wagner.
Yeah.
In a deal like that.
You see, that part is a little bit exciting for me. A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you could basically start, I don't really want to give up Dort, but if you did give up Dort, I mean, then your team is, and you get to keep the 4th pick. Let's say the Thunder have 4.
Of course, yes.
That's where it's interesting because you could start it with Chet, Ivy, Giddey. I mean, yeah, it's intriguing, but you're giving up 2 players are good.
Yes.
Which
but in that case, you are horrible in 2022, and you have the chance.
You're bad. You're real bad.
Yeah. That trade is again, it's something that doesn't happen. But it's at least you see the reason behind it. Like if Orlando is a little bit I don't know, in a hurry, and you're not, and you're really not, then a lineup with Giddey, Wagner, Chet, Ivy, and Baisley. Like you have basically 4 guys that are 6'7" and above.
It's extremely tempting for me.
That is crazy.
It's extremely.
If you don't, put JRE. If you don't want to put Baisley in the starting unit, you can have him as the center.
Sure,
but that is something like, I don't know. And again, Shai is great. Shai is great. So I think that we are all saying this because we have this kind of bad taste in our mouth of the pairing with Shai and Giddey. Because if Shai was to average 28 efficient points, no one will even consider that. And I think that Shai can absolutely be back to that level in a year. Because of better spacing, because of better coaching on the offensive side, because of Giddey just basically being more sure about his NBA skills and stuff, like maybe a little bit more of Treyman. Like these stuff are important. And if Shai goes up in efficiency again and he's a 28-point scorer, I mean, even if you think that Chet is like great, I mean, that is a guy that you want to have. I talk about Shai, so it's
I know. And the other side of it too is not only the talent fit, it's the how long can you prevent yourself from being closer to the middle than you want to be, is like another thing. Because if you don't think Shai is a top player on your team, if you don't think that he's the number 1 guy and you get the 6th pick in this next draft, like that's where you have to take a really hard look at what exactly are we doing? Where exactly are we going? Can we use the picks that we have to trade up? If you can't, that's when you have to really take a good hard look at the rebuild and say, do we want to commit to the Shai Giddey rebuild?
Yeah.
And the answer may be yes. The answer could definitely be yes. But the answer could also be no. Like we're kind of hoping that we would get the 3rd pick or 2nd pick in this draft.
Yeah.
I don't know where the Thunder, I don't know where Presti's head is at or where any of his guys' heads are at with regards to this question, but I think it's a very interesting question that they will have to face if they don't get lottery luck. If you get lottery luck, you throw it all out and then you just pair Shai and Giddey with whoever you like at the top.
Yeah.
It will, getting luck in the lottery just takes away so many questions.
But take this here.
Yeah.
Take this here. How do you define lottery for us? We might end up having the 2nd/3rd best player in this class.
It's true. We don't know how they evaluate these guys. We don't know. Like the Thunder might be like, AJ Griffin's number 2 on our board.
Exactly. Like it can be that, or it can be that Jalen Brown is the guy that they want, and they didn't trade for a center. They didn't move anything. They started JRE playing with Muscala or with Favors because they think that a long, tall, energetic big is stuff that they need. Maybe this is why they tried to pair Baisley and JRE with Diakite, because they want them to play with a center that occupies a certain places on the court. I don't know. The point is, draft lottery is important, essential, but sometimes your skills are as important. I mean, Giddey may be the second best player in this class, or the third, or the fourth.
Let's talk about that. At Trust the Void says, how far away is Giddey from being the number 2 prospect in last year's draft? Would you trade him for Cade or Scotty right away, or is it pretty close?
To be fair, I would swap it immediately for Mobley.
Immediately. Yeah.
Not maybe immediately, but very.
What makes that tough, though?
Very fast.
What makes it, and I guess it really doesn't make it that tough, because then you just be incredibly tall and versatile. Is like, what if you think Chet's the best guy and you get the number 1 pick? Can you play Chet and Mobley together? Like, the answer is actually probably yes.
Yeah,
you can be.
Yeah, you can. You can, because he can play, like, he's switchy enough.
Yeah.
So you do it immediately. For Cade, also, mainly because he's such a good shooter, such a good passer, that, I mean, it's not a sure thing that in 5 years this is the same answer. I would probably bet on Cade's ability to be a great shooter, to be honest, and to be a good enough passer. To be, if you have a 40% shooter that passed the ball like Cade, you have an all-star, period. And with Giddey, you're not sure about that, but I would think about it.
Yeah.
Because Giddey has a special gift.
Yeah, he does.
And when you have a special gift like that, and you are as competitive as he is, I mean, it's hard to let him go. It's really hard, because the drive is as important as the talent. And sometimes what you perceive as drive is not really that important. I mean, if you ask me, is LaVine going to be an all-star? I'll say probably not.
Yeah.
When he was with Mini.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think everybody would be
really? That guy?
Yeah, there's no way.
And then?
Uh-oh, Mikhail's frozen. Yeah, once you see, like, he's right. You just don't know. We don't know. Even now, like, we feel like we know. But you look at a lot of these draft class in year 1 or at the end of even year 2, and you feel like you know what the class is. But you don't know. Even today, like, there's going to be somebody, a Zaire Williams or even Kuminga, or somebody is going to flourish at some point. Even in the 2008 draft, like, Westbrook was not close to what he is today. Like, not even close. I mean, it was still like, is he even a point guard? Like, we didn't know. You look back in, like, the 2016 class, where, like, Dragon Bender goes 4 and Chris Dunn goes 5 and Buddy Hield is 6, where you think, Sabonis went 11 in that draft.
Yeah.
And even then, at the end of that first year, we were like, yeah, that might be right. Or maybe Sabonis should have even gone later than he did. Well, Sabonis would be a top 5 pick if he did a redraft today in that class. Jamal Murray went 7. Like, Jamal Murray might really be the best player in that class next to, Jaylen Brown. Like, you just don't know. I mean, you just have no clue. And, the class that we're looking at now, it's really good. I mean, certainly compare that 2016 class. Like, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
But we still don't know. Josh could end up being the best player in the class, or he could be the 3rd best player. We don't know. But we can be thankful that Sam found a player that is, like, one of the worthwhile guys, because there was always going to be the case that somebody in the top 7 or 8 was not going to be very good, or was going to struggle out the gate, or was and right now it looks like it's going to be Jalen Green or Jalen Suggs, and both have had bright spots this year, but Jalen Suggs is incredibly inefficient as a scorer.
Yeah.
So is Jalen Green, and they both have a long way to go. But you look at Cade and Mobley and Barnes and Giddey, and Barnes has even struggled as of late. And Wagner, like those are good pros. But to say he's number 2, as we stated before, like he's number 2 in Rookie of the Year race, but if he did a redraft, maybe he goes 5 or 4, like that's probably where I would put him.
Yeah. Do you think that, I mean, with Barnes, it's probably a toss-up. Barnes is a great defender.
They're just so different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Barnes is a giant. I mean, he's huge.
And I think that there are teams that probably draft Jalen Green before because of the upside of being a sensational scorer. And someone, even if Jalen Suggs is struggling right now, hey, maybe they draft him before as well because they believe that he can work through his efficiency and he's a winner and yada yada yada. So it's possible, but I think that if you want to draw a line after Mobley and Cade and say that there is a group, I think that Giddey is probably on the lead in that group.
Yeah, he and the youngest of those guys too.
Exactly, he's so young,
pretty wild,
and he processed the game to such a high level that it's hard to see him like not improving. Mm-hmm. Again, today Scalabrini was talking about today.
We're having some connection issues with Michele. I was really excited for what he was about to say, though.
Sorry, I dropped. See, me talking well about Draymond Green and everything stops. No, it was just basically saying, hey, he processed the action like a second before it happens.
Yeah.
And you see Giddey processing the game earlier than others. So it's
it's very, there's a lot of Steve Nash in what he does, certainly.
Yeah. Especially his shot.
He's just much taller. Just much bigger. At Narrow Expanded, what weight do you give to Hollinger's offseason trade sending favors and filler to the Lakers for Westbrook and their 2027 pick? A buyout for Russell Westbrook, and OKC carries his and Kemba's dead salary through 2023. Does Presti even consider this? Is this a 2020? Is the 2027 pick worth it? Thoughts?
I mean, I was already smashed on Twitter for suggesting it.
Person to ask, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think that there's no disrespect on allowing a player to like regroup, refocused, and find a way to make it work for him. You will pay him the money, not everything probably. If you reach a buyout, I think you can work out something where OKC is in no trouble in terms of tax, and just pay Russ whatever. I don't think that the Lakers do that though. Like favors, like this is just a dump. The Lakers cannot allow this. They need to get someone. This needs to be part of a bigger deal where somehow they get something, something else, because that trade doesn't make any sense. I mean, you just keep Russ and try to work out another year, because favors gives you nothing that you need. If you say that you get Kenrich and I don't know, someone else, Ty Jerome, maybe, but LeBron doesn't like that. He doesn't want a Kenrich Williams. Even if Kenrich is exactly what he needs right now, he doesn't want that. So it's...
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers have messed up big time. And the Thunder might be one of the only teams that could take Russ, but I don't know. If the pick is completely unprotected in 27, you probably do it.
Yeah.
But, And I would ask for a swap too, because if you did it in the summer at the draft, you could request the year after. Or does 29 open up then? Or no,
Right
you
after.
can swap anyways. It doesn't violate the stepping rule, right?
Yeah, if you do 27 plus 28 swap, yes.
All right, done. I would do that.
Yeah, but again, it's nonsensical. I think that for them.
Yeah, for them it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they need to get players, even rentals.
Yeah. At Kaler_Campbell, is Al Babycakes going too far to embarrass Andrew K. Schlecht in the Andrew versus the Beat? He had a couple questions in this last one that made me feel like he did take it a little bit too far. He was giving somebody points on something that I got all the answers right to, and like gave them a chance. Like that was a little too far.
You picked the wrong question, Andrew. That's on you, not on him.
That's what he said. And how do I know that he's not just pick? I mean, he says I can say whatever number. He can give me whatever question he wants. There's no, I don't know.
Wow.
I think
you're implying that he's making he's tampering with the.
I'm more than implying. I'm accusing.
Oh wow! Yeah. You're accusing. Yeah. That is some serious accusation. Wow.
Let's see. A lot of LeBron questions in here. Let's see. Okay. The world has caught wind of our Aussie baby boy. Rank these backcourt running mates to play next to Josh for the next 5 years. SGA, Trey Mann, Jaden Ivey, Johnny Davis, Shaedon Sharpe.
I know very, very little of the last 3.
Yeah.
So that's for me is just a toss-up, which I would rank them in the same order.
You like that order?
Good order. Yeah, I mean, I watched a very little highlight reel of Shaedon Sharpe, and
as has everyone. So
yeah.
You are on the same level as most people, unless you've somehow seen him in person.
And of course, if I watch the pieces where he makes basket and he runs hard and jumps high, that is amazing. I mean, we all want players that can hit from long distance, jump very high, and being very, very active in defense. He has huge ends, by the way. Yeah. That is very good.
Yes, the kind of player that Shaedon Sharpe could be could easily make him the number 1 guy. However, I would have it. It would be so hard for me to take him in the draft because we haven't seen him in what should be his first year of college. You just don't see him at all, and those guys are just so risky. It is so risky because you just don't know what they're going to end up being, and you take that high of a pick on them. I'd be scared.
This is the moment where I remember to everyone that Hamidou Diallo was once a guy that should have gone in the 10 to 20 range based on the unknown. He went through a year in Kentucky, and he's probably like a second-round pick still. Yeah. Even if you take the production, he's probably an NBA player, but it's not a player that you really want to draft maybe in the late first round. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe the 25th pick would be fine for a guy like Hami. But if you're using the 5th pick or the 7th pick, man, you got to be sure. So my order would be SGA, number 1, just because I think SGA he's the most surefire NBA scoring talent on this list. Yeah. Then I would probably go Jaden Ivey next. And then probably Johnny Davis, and then Trey Mann, and then Shaedon Sharpe. Just because
Johnny Davis is 2023, right? Am I wrong?
What?
What year is Johnny Davis?
He's coming out.
He's coming out? Okay.
Yeah, 22. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a little bit bigger than Trey. I don't know. I just need to see a little bit. Honestly, I need to see more from everybody, but Johnny Davis will be a top 10 pick in the draft, and I don't know that Trey Mann would even be a top 10 pick in the draft if you redid the draft today. So
no, probably not. Well, it depends. If you take the last 5 games, probably.
Yeah, I think 10 games, probably not.
Yeah, but if you think like how, I mean, the NBA has such a huge sample size immediately. Like, you know, everything about these guys, everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see how he closed though. He's playing better. I think that if you redraft way more, like knowing what you know now, way more analysts would put him in the lottery, in the late lottery / top 20, because he showed that he can be okay defensively and not terrible.
Yeah,
which was the main knock on his game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is true. Let's see. Lots of like draft questions that we're not quite ready
Too
to
early,
answer.
guys.
Yeah.
April is the month where I promise I will start
doing
research.
Let's see.
Extensively.
At Brian Briggs 1, the Thunder have 4 picks in the top 34 in the 2022 draft. That's a lot. He's asking who do we like, but again, it's a little bit too early to really know, and also we don't know where they're picking.
Yeah, shall we say what kind of ideal prospects, not names, just skills that we think, or player types that we think should be good for the current roster?
Yeah, I mean we can, and I can try to match some of the guys that I do know with the range that we're in.
Well, I'll do the skills part, and you do the matching.
I'll do the matching. Yeah, sounds good.
No, I think that on the top 3, if you are like lucky enough to get a good pick, then you really want to draft a scoring big, not necessarily someone who's averaging 25 points per game, but either that or, I mean, Chad or Jabari Smith are like the best. But I think that someone who with touches and points from the center position that can maybe play like short roll and doing like being part of the offense and being part of the finishing, that is probably what you need. If you get a switchy one, even better, because OKC's defense cares a lot about guys that can understand what is happening on the court and being very quick to switch.
Yeah.
So this is the first need.
Well, that's why Chet is just like, to me, it's just perfect for what they want to be on both ends. Like great shot blocker, can shoot, can pass, can dribble, can do all these things. I actually don't think that any of the 3 would be a bad fit, you know?
Yeah, possibly with Paulo's 3 being the most dangerous thing for OKC right now.
Yeah.
But even if he's not a 3-point shooter, if he's a scorer, then you can probably be okay with it anyway.
He is a scorer.
So we'll see. The second part is finding a big wing. Big wing with touch. It doesn't necessarily needs to be someone who passed the ball at the high level. Better if he's able to do it on the move. Like it doesn't need to be. It's maybe Trey Murphy is a wrong. I'm also convinced that Trey Murphy was not the pick to be made there, but anyway, someone like him that can be versatile enough defensively and can really hit a shot when he's open and maybe do a little bit on the move. That would be something, someone that I think really fits with OKC's current roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think AJ Griffin would be at the top for me. I think Johnny Davis is another big wing, but he kind of he needs the ball a little bit more. And then you just kind of get some question marks. Like, does anybody believe in Kendall Brown's shot? Does anybody believe that Patrick Baldwin Jr. has a pulse? You know, like those are certainly questions. Like we get to a lot of questions really fast in this, especially when it comes to wings and guards in this draft. You know, outside of Jaden Ivey, like who are you trusting? As a guard, and like we get to Ty Washington fast, and it's like, oh, okay, what exactly do we do with him? It's quite an interesting draft. And we need to. The good thing is like we're gonna get an NCAA tournament. We're gonna get to see these guys a little bit more, and we'll have like a really nice sample of everybody. And at the end of the day, we may still have the same questions that we have today, but just because these guys, turn out to be some way in college doesn't mean that they're going to be that in the league. Guys change a lot and change fast. So, there's going to be somebody in the 6 to 16 range that's going to pop. It happens every single year. It happens. And it will happen with this draft too. A guy that people had a ton of questions about will end up being one of the better players in this draft. It doesn't matter. You can go all the way back to whatever draft. Like pick a draft. You can pick the worst draft in forever, the 2013 draft. And that draft had CJ McCollum at 10, Giannis at 15, Steven Adams at 12. You look at
Rudy
Gobert at the back half. That draft, every draft. That's one of the worst drafts in a long time. Anthony Bennett went number 1 for crying out loud. Rudy Zeller 4, Alex Len 5.
Was it Draymond Green's draft? And Andre Robertson?
Robertson was in this draft. Draymond Green was not in this draft.
But Robertson, the next one.
Yeah, Robertson. No, he was 2012. Yeah, 2012. 2012.
The year where OKC drafted Perry Jones?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they took Perry Jones 28. Listen to this. This second round is just wild. Jay Crowder goes 34. Draymond Green 35. Chris Middleton 39. Will Barton 40. It's unbelievable second round. And then you look at even the top of that draft, like MKG goes 2. Thomas Robinson goes 5. Terrence Ross goes 8. Austin Rivers goes 10. Myers Leonard and Jeremy Lamb go 10 and 11.
That's weird.
You're gonna miss. Guys are gonna miss. And the Thunder were one of the teams that missed in that particular draft. We thought on draft night, I remember dancing around my living room thinking the Thunder had gotten the next guy at 28. Little did they know that some of the best role players of this era and some of legitimate all-stars, 2 legitimate all-stars.
Yeah.
We're at 35 and 39, You just don't.
And I fully expect OKC to try the international route for this season, trying to really scout hard if there is any draft and stash. I know the teams are not doing it to a high degree right now. Even Vic Krejci came over immediately. But there are guys that are playing, Rocco Prokachin, guys like that, that may be willing to sit a year or 2 in Europe before coming over. And I think that OKC needs to find ways to have talent without necessarily occupying roster spots immediately.
Yeah.
That is something that they...
Is Rocco going to be in this draft?
He was eligible for our last one.
Yeah.
So I think that this is the last year of his eligibility, or maybe he has another one, but I think he will declare.
Yeah, he's 19. I guess he's not having a good year because he's mocked in the late second round.
Yeah, he's not having a great year yet. He's not playing. He's, according to Sam Vecini, I'm not watching EuroLeague, so I can't pretend to know anything. But Sam said that he's very uninterested in playing any kind of defense at all.
Huh. Well, we know that if he wants to play for the Thunder, he's going to have to play defense.
Yeah, there are a couple of Italian guys that are, maybe it's too early for them. Procida and Spagnolo are kind of interesting, but nothing really special to lose your mind about. So it's but there are a couple of international guys that you can take with the second round pick and just see what happens without having the obligation to bring them over immediately.
Yeah. We'll go one more question and then we're going to go This is from at Simon Eat Dog. How much do you think the Thunder's top-ranked defense is on Mark? If Mark is on a different organization like the Kings or the Rockets, do you think his coaching style and demand of effort and discipline drags a team like the Rockets into an okay defense?
This is very hard. Billy Donovan's teams were good with very troublesome personnel.
Yeah. In both
so
here and in Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah, now in Chicago is a little bit worse, but they really lost everyone who can play defense. So this is not Billy. He probably built a defense based on concepts that were based on Caruso's and Patty Williams and Lonzo Ball abilities. You lose them, you lose a bunch. Back to the question, Degnault is really asking them a lot. There is a very good article on, I think, Basketball Insider. Am I right?
Basketball News.
No, Basketball News. Sorry. We retweeted. Everyone retweeted that. It's a very interesting article that you should really read. There are a lot of clips.
I wrote it.
It's very easy to understand. Well written, and there are a lot of examples to see how hard it is to play defense in the NBA and what are the concepts. So I think that in a general organization, Degnault is a positive on that, meaning that maybe the overall defensive talent of that unit is say a 6, and he improves that to a 7. In order to be in order to achieve what he's achieving with OKC, it takes full commitment from everyone.
Yeah, it takes full commitment, and it also takes an organizational alignment from the top to the bottom. Not only so that everybody understands the balance of power within the organization, but like Sam knows the kind of guys to get that will fit into this defensive scheme. There's a lot of guys in Houston that I would say, you know what? It doesn't matter if it's Mark or Greg Popovich. That is not going to be a good defense.
Yeah.
Christian Wood, I've said this before on the pod, I wouldn't take Christian Wood for free if they were just like, hey, you can have him, no damage to your cap sheet or anything. Like, you can just have him. He can be an exception on your roster, and he can just be on your roster. I'd say, no thanks. I do not want him on this team because he will drag you down. And he's done it time and time again. He did it.
Maybe you want it. Then.
That would be the only reason that you would want it, so you could tank.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
The Thunder are trying to create a type of balance where we want to tank, but we also want to be laying the foundation for the structure that will be a team that is long lasting. Like, that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
They don't want these damaging players on their team. They don't want those kind of guys.
No, they clearly made a choice.
Kevin Porter Jr. is another one of those guys where he's a damaging player to your system. He's incredible. He and Christian Wood, incredibly talented players, very good players when it comes to just playing basketball. But at the end of the day, they're the kind of guys that fit with the organization. Like, so, Sam had the option to get those guys, believe it or not, everybody. Like, they had the chance.
Just throw a second rounder to the Cavs, and KPG is yours.
Easy. I mean, the Thunder of anybody had expendable assets to go get somebody like that. It would have been a very simple transaction. The Thunder opted not to because of the kind of foundation they want to lay for their team. They have Kenrich Williams and Ty Jerome and guys like that instead, who are going to help you and help you to lay the defensive foundation for guys like Shai and Giddey and Dort, the guys that are going to be there long term. JRE, Wiggins, whoever else, Trey. If Trey Mann is playing with Christian Wood and he's playing with Kevin Porter Jr., you think that his defensive trajectory is going to be different? The answer is
absolutely.
Of course, it's going to be different, and that's why I would worry a little bit about Jalen Green, because like you can even see, like, man, Jalen Green's like very he gets very upset playing with Christian Wood a lot, like visibly upset because the ball is moving around the perimeter. And then defensively, like that is not the kind of example that I would want for my guys.
Yeah, and again, if you are, we all changed boss in our career, or at least I did. And you change situation, you change colleagues, you changed. You change when change around you happen. So, or at least you have the opportunity to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So, you always mention Phoenix as a team that drafted well. They were terrible. Well, they drafted a good one. Then they drafted Aiden. And then they decided to clean house and get the good guys in. Not the good guys. A certain type of guy in.
Yes. Yeah.
A very good coach. And boom.
Yep.
Like Booker, all the bad attitudes, the no defense kind of things, the 70 points just to the sake of making them, which is like an incredible feat, by the way. It's long gone. He's a winning player. So it's not that is what you do. It's like if you waste the 2 years of Jalen Green defense or learning attitudes, it's necessarily something that you cannot change in the future.
Yeah.
But if you start with the right way, hey, that's better. I mean, it may be worse in terms of your odds for the draft, but surely, you are building the right way.
Well, even look
and
at
again, take Trey Man.
And look at well, Trey Man's a great example because that's the kind of guy that could go either way.
Yeah,
like I
think so.
If you would have given like 12 alternative universes for Trey Man, like most of those universes exist with him being a poor defender where he doesn't make it onto the court, in crunch time for most teams. Now, it doesn't mean that he's going to actually graduate and become a good defender and do everything here, but he's actually got a chance to do that now. I mean, look, I was going to say Towns is a really interesting example because like he's had multiple coaches, multiple, like now he's had multiple owners. He's had tons of teammates. They've had tremendous lottery luck. They've had the number one pick basically on their team twice.
Yeah.
And still, like, they're a play-in team, and he's in his second contract.
That is sad.
If Cat was with a team that had like competent leadership, competent ownership, just brought in the right kind of guys from the beginning and laid a defensive foundation and held him to a defensive standard, because Towns was supposed to be defense first. That's what he was drafted.
And that was the first year with KG. That was the year where he was really good.
There was accountability there for him. And then, and then it's gone. I mean, talent will take you so far, but you've got to lay that foundation. Like, that foundation has to be there. And Mark is a big part of it, but I don't want to understate the importance of Presti and Clay Bennett, because those two as a leadership tandem brought you Mark. They brought you the attitude of the organization. They brought you everything. It is a big, big deal to have great ownership and great management. And that's what will bring you the right kind of team and the right kind of players with the right kind of attitudes. And they empower Mark to do the job, and they bring him the right kind of players. And so it's not just Mark. While Mark has done a good job, it's not just him. It's the entire ethos of the Thunder doing that. If you took the entire ethos of the Thunder and put them in Houston, number one, they would probably get rid of Christian Wood and KPJ like that, and then try to build with what they have there with the rest of those guys. Like Josh Christopher, I think would be a good player, and somebody the Thunder, if they had that pick, maybe should have even considered, at that spot. Obviously, the Thunder had an opportunity to get Şengün, but I would give Şengün a little bit better opportunity to do better if you have better leadership from top to bottom. So it's sorry, that was a very complicated way to answer it. I think that discussing Mark outside of those Sam and Clay, as far as like what can be done, I don't know. Mark is 36 years old. Is Mark Daigneault, a 36-year-old Mark Daigneault, going to transform an entire organization? Like, I just don't know.
No, you're right. You're definitely right. Empowering is also important. It's extremely important. Empowering and also putting a guy in the best position to succeed as a human being on the job. And I think that the organization did that for Daigneault, and Daigneault is doing that for his guys. So it's
there's a domino effect.
Yeah.
At play here. That starts with, honestly, it starts with Clay Bennett is where it all begins, because he completely empowers Sam, and then it just goes on and on and on to where Mark feels like he can completely empower a guy like Aaron Wiggins, who, has been pretty good this year. So, all right, that's all. Thanks so much for listening. We tried to answer as many questions as we could. If we didn't get to your question, I do apologize. Hope you guys enjoy a little bit of a break. We are still going to pod Wednesday with Alex, Friday with the Fry Pod guys. I think the Thunder have another game starting Thursday night here at home. So we will be here. Also, look out for podcasts on OKC Dream Team as well. We'll have more shows there as well. So look for those. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And we will talk to you guys again on Wednesday.